Hello, everybody. Welcome to another M8 meetup. We are going to talk about version 5, which just was released about a week ago. And I'm actively still trying to source out if there's any remaining issues with that firmware. I think we're on like reversion D at this point, or hotfix D. Just little issues here and there, and I'll go over that stuff. But yeah. Let's see. So, version 5 kind of snuck up on me because it was supposed to be 4.2, I think, or 4.1. I forget which. And I just kind of started adding things that I wanted to add, and then it got out of hand, and next thing you know, we're on version 5. So, I'll just start, like, basically going over the features really quickly, and then maybe we'll circle back around to answer any questions people might have. But, yeah. How you doing, Mikey?
Not too bad.
Yay,
How about yourself?
I'm not talking to myself.
I'm here as emotional support janitor.
Thank you. Okay, so first up, we have a feature that people have requested in the past, which is a random fill, specifically for velocity. So I'm just going to set up something really quickly here. So we have a bunch of fill modes in M8 in Phrase. When you do this selection mode and select an area, you hold down Option, and you could do like press the left arrow, and it'll cycle through different fills. Right, and then you have the right that does a random pattern to fill. And you can see it's affecting the velocity there too, the V column. And then you could go up or down, and that'll random notes up or down to create a little melody. And then, let's see. So for velocity, we now have it where if you just select the velocity column, you could do the left arrow, the option, and then right arrow to get different velocities. That's kind of the new thing that's being talked about there. If you go right, it'll do a velocity pattern, and if you go up or down, it'll just do random values. And let me show you let me do this real quick. Just do a fill here. So a pattern will basically randomly select a range, like let's say 4 steps or 2 steps or 8 steps. It'll randomly select like that length of how many steps, and it'll repeat a random set of values for those steps. So it's pretty cool for if this was, say, a hi-hat. You could kind of hear the patterns there. And then the up or down arrow for that just does random values. You can see it sometimes doesn't actually change values because the chance of it actually changing a value is also random. So it's just a little extra random in there. All right, so that's the random fill velocity for version 5. Next up, we have changes to the sample editor. So let me go. Yeah, I'm going to load in a sample. Oh. Let's see. Packs, electrosongs. This card I have in here is a stock card, so it doesn't really have much in here. Does it have any loops? I don't think it does. Rip. I have some drum heads in here. Slices, 909. This will work. So we have Lazy Chop, which is slice markers in M8 are stored in the file, and you could edit up to 128 different slice markers here. There's several quick ways to do slice markers, I should mention before talking about Lazy Chop. There's in the process menu, there's Slice Auto, which will basically try to find points in which the sample might have slices in it. Then there's silence, which will find dead silence in order to find those markers. And then there's slice 2 through, I don't know what it goes up to, 128. And that'll evenly slice the sample up by the number. So 4, it'll slice it into 4 slices, etc. That's several quick ways to do slicing. And then the new way is to hit play. And when you hit play with your mouse, or your cursor over the slice area, and tap edit, it'll just insert markers wherever the playhead is. You get the idea. So that's lazy chop added. Let's see what else we got. Oh, a couple other changes in the sample editor. One is when you're selecting a loop region here, you can see at the bottom of the screen there's now a value indicator, and it tells you basically what the value is at on that position. So if you're trying to get to a 0 crossing, you'll get, like, this is basically a 0 crossing negative. It shows you basically if it's a stereo file, it'll tell you the max amplitude between left and right. If it's a mono file, it'll just do that. But yeah, it's just an easy way to tell, like, where is the cursor actually at in terms of the volume range. And it's +1 to -1. So just a little help. So some other things we got. Let me see if I could set up a demo for this. Maybe I'll just use a second M8 just to make it quick. Here. So we have 32-bit support in M8. And one of the first changes, well, hold on. We've always had 32-bit support, but for sampling and sample editing, we didn't. M8 used to work with 8 to 24-bit bit depth, and now it's 32-bit. And why that's important is a few things. For recording, it means you don't have to worry about the gain as much because you have a lot more headroom now in terms of when you're sampling something in. So if I have a second M8 here hooked up to the input of this M8 just as an audio example for recording. But if I just start a recording here, stop it. This sample here is actually a 32-bit sample. So that volume doesn't matter so much when we're normalizing. But yeah, and then when you hit save, it'll actually, because the problem with 32-bit is it's obviously twice as taxing to stream data than a 16-bit file. So M8 prefers to work with 16-bit files. So once you're done normalizing, etc., it's going to want to save it as a 16-bit. So right there, what it did just there is it checked if it needs to be normalized, if it's going to clip at 16-bit, etc., and then it'll go ahead and save it at 16-bit. If you load in a 32-bit file into the sampler, you're going to be limited, and it's mentioned in the changelog, it's going to be limited to C4 and below in terms of pitch, because we're trying to cap the amount of load the sampler is doing, basically, on streaming SD. So with 24-bit, you're limited to an octave up. With 16-bit, I think it's like 3 octaves up or something. And then 16-bit mono, it's like 6 octaves up, So basically, the more loading, the more taxing a sample is for M8, the more limited the upper range of the octave is. So let's see. Looking at the list of what else changed. Oh yeah, samples can be played back while recording. This was kind of a big limitation of M8, which is now totally not there anymore. So I'm just going to put a sample in this project that's playing, and then I'll put in a new sample and then start recording on the song. So you could hear the sample playing in the background right now while this is recording, which is something that I wouldn't do before. How this is possible is I repurposed the memory that's normally allocated for the delay, for the delay effect, the ping pong delay, and it's using that as the record buffer while it's writing to the SD card. So that gives us a lot more time to process samples, basically. So that enabled a bunch of stuff, including playing back samples. So you'll notice if you do this kind of song mode playback stuff in the sample recorder, it won't have any delay effect, and that's why. The delay is basically turned off during these types of processes. All right. I'm gonna change my setup a little bit here just to show you guys something. All right. Okay, so let me go to a new, start a new. I'm going to use an external instrument for this. Hopefully this works. Yes, it does. So right now, this is external instrument. If you don't know, it sends out MIDI and then uses the line in or the USB in to have that audio come back in through the instrument so it can then be routed through effects and everything else. And what you're hearing right here is a analog synth externally. So we had this thing called quick render, and what, man, I should do this differently. Hold on. I'm gonna load up a different song. So quick render, normally you would make a selection in the song and then you double tap the edit button. And it used to pull up a message that would say, oh, you want to quick render the selection into a sample? And that whole thing has now changed. You could still do it the old way, but you're now presented with three options. The first option is the old way, where it'll just offline render that selection to a sample. I just clicked it and it's doing it now. So it's rendering just that selected area as a sample. And then the next sample or the next instrument I insert will actually be that sample it recorded. One cool thing that's changed here is it automatically detects the volume, samples it at 32-bit, and then normalizes it so at 16-bit it has the full volume scale. So it's not a quiet sample anymore if your mixer's turned down or the instrument settings are low, which just gives you like more dynamic range. The other thing it'll do is it has a real-time recorder, and what that'll do is basically record anything that's coming through the mixer while it's playing back in that selection. So what that could do is, let's say if I assign DJ filter cutoff, whoa. If I assign a DJ filter cutoff to, yeah, that works, okay. Just assigned the DJ filter cutoff to the touchscreen, so I could do a render selection in real time here. I'm not sure if this one actually works, but we'll find out. It's gonna be funny if it doesn't actually record the DJ filter. Oh, it does. Wait, does it? Yeah. Yeah. So real-time allows you to record everything basically through the mixer, and if you do parameter MIDI CC assignments, you could basically render something as a sample and record those sweeps that you're doing manually. And you can see it there in the waveform too. And it'll also record the external inputs on the mixer as well. And then finally, what it'll do, which I was going to demonstrate a minute ago, was if we set up an external instrument again with that OB6, I think is what that is. So this is an external instrument that's going through the line in through this, yeah. this instrument. I could do a quick render on that for external only, and it'll just sample that to a perfect loop. So this workflow is insane for working with external gear. It makes it super quick to just drop, have a synth or a drum machine or whatever, sequence it on an M8, and then drop it back in as a full sample. So that's kind of the big deal with that one. All right. Anybody have any questions about the stuff I covered so far? Because I'm just jumping ahead really quickly. Can the real-time sample record every kind of modulation? Yeah, anything you assign to a MIDI CC or whatever, anything you're hearing, basically, it's recording. So when you do real-time sample record, can you record the file? I'm so confused right now. I'm confused by your question, by the way. It records it to a file, yeah. Mikey, are you there?
Yes, sorry. I was also trying to think about how to answer the question. Yeah, it records it to a file. So, yeah, it'll sample it into a sample instrument, and that sample gets put into a folder that you can tap into.
Yeah, so all of these renders get dumped into the render folder, and you could move them later if you want to, organize it, or do a bundle if you need to collect them out of that render folder. But it's basically inside of the renders / the name of your song, and they're just numbered. Don't have any more questions. I'm going to move on to FM synth changes.
Got one more question for you. When recording, does it record through everything but the limiter so that the limiter doesn't affect the renders?
Exactly. Yeah, so originally Quick Render was designed for, like, if you wanted to treat all of a sudden your whole track as a sample to, like, reverse it randomly, or scratch it or do something wacky with it, you could do that as a sample. So it tries to represent itself when you insert that instrument. It tries to be unity gain with what was originally playing. And then it's also not part of the limiter, so that way it could still go through that process and sound okay. Can the real-time sampling be triggered while the song is playing? No. No, you have to do it separately. There's a whole process involved. Like I said before, the main change here in version 5 is the delay's RAM is being utilized for something entirely different. So it has to basically stop using the delay effect and then initialize it to silence and then do a recording. So it's not something that can be utilized real time like that. All right, I'm going to move on to FM synth. Okay, so FM synth, has the basic sine waves as the shape by default, right? And it has these other modes that are common, some other FM synthesis algorithms or implementations, I should say. And then we have the triangle waveform, a saw waveform, a square, and then some pulse waves and stuff like that. Originally, up until this version, the saw waveform, the square, the pulse, the impulse, and actually a couple of the sine wave base shapes that need it were never... there wasn't any anti-aliasing algorithm involved just because of CPU restrictions at the time. So that what that means is on higher notes, it kind of has this grainy effect. Or on different pitches, it might have a little bit of a grainy effect. All of that is gone now in this version. They just sound like a normal saw wave at most reasonable pitches, which is kind of a new thing. Impulse was originally just this little spiky shape for using as a carrier wave, but as a modulator wave, I should say. As a carrier, you could use the, let me turn on the volume a little bit. You could use the feedback parameter on the impulse to do a pulse wave modulation, which is kind of cool. That's a new thing here. I don't think it's really mentioned on the changelog. I might have forgot to add that, but let's see. And then finally, what we have at the end of this list, which we didn't have before, is all of the wavetables that are from the WaveSynth version 4. The only disadvantage with using the wavetables in the FM synth is they are not anti-aliased. That nice smooth sound I was just talking about with the other waveforms. It's not really the case with the wavetables, but just because there's just technical, not really possible things I can do here. There's CPU restrictions, and then there's also program space issues to make these sound cleaner. So these will sound a little dirtier, basically, than the WaveSynth version of them. I can actually demonstrate that if anybody cares. But we could do... this one. So let's see, Dry is 80. I'm going to do a comparison between the WaveSynth and... so that's the FM synth. That's the WaveSynth. Oh, need to bring up the size all the way. So they sound almost the same, but you kind of hear the FM synth has a bit of a graininess to it. And it's especially true when you get higher up in pitches. Now that's a caveat with the FM synth, but what you gain with using the wavetables in here is you have 4 of them that can modulate each other or add together. So it just allows a lot more kind of creative, crazy things you could do. So with the, and you can see there's this new help text at the bottom here when you change the waveform. And it tells you at the bottom, it says FB, basically FB equals scan, which means the feedback parameter, the second digit here, will scan the waveform. So if I set this value up to peak and I assign it to a modulator, it sounds steppy that way, but if I assign it to an LFO where it's not steppy, and slow it the hell down. There we go. And what's cool is, you know, it's FM, so you still have all the frequency modulation stuff. Or if we wanted to, we could set it to the last algorithm. And now you're able to copy and paste. It's another new feature in here. So if I copy with the cursor in one of these ops, I could copy it and then paste it to the other ops. So I could just change these to something else. And this is that additive mode, so they're just all, it's just basically a 4 oscillator synthesizer. I'm going to de-pitch some of these. So you get the idea. Basically, it sounds pretty cool. It's a little dirty, but it's neat that we have it. Does the FM phase command do anything with the wavetables? I mean, in theory, yeah, it would reset the phase of the waveform back to its starting point. It's a little confusing because it's currently being modulated between different positions of the wavetable, but it's basically the same as the other waveforms. Yeah. Yeah, this thing can get pretty interesting creatively, I think. It also sounds terrible if you do it the wrong way, just because of how aliased it is. But I think it's worth it just to have it in there. So, any questions? Mikey, do you have a question?
No questions, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, we're going to move on. 4.0 had the addition of the EQ, which if you don't know, it's the screen here. It's pretty sweet. You could apply EQs to instruments, to the main output right here in the mixer, and then all the effects sends also have an EQ. And now we had 32 different EQ slots that instruments could be assigned to. And now the number of EQ slots is 128. So we basically have it now matched with the number of instruments. It's cool that it's its own value here because it means like you could have like 3 clones of the same instrument all share the same exact EQ. That hasn't changed, just the sheer number of EQs has changed to 128. And what that also allowed is now when you load or save, when you save presets, it'll also save the EQ with the instrument. So you could load that in. That's all that's changed there, but it's pretty cool that we have that now. If I load an instrument preset, does its stored EQ settle into the first available EQ slot, or does it try to match the instrument number? It tries to match the instrument, but if that instrument's EQ slot, like let's say you have instrument number 1 and it doesn't have an EQ assigned, but somewhere else you were using EQ number 1 for something, it'll load it into 2. It'll load it into the next available slot. So, but it always tries to match the instrument first with the EQ. I'm going to load I just loaded Laamaa's Snow Day, which is a demo song on the Model 2 because I want to show off another new feature, or the final new feature, I guess, for version 5, which is the changes to the limiter and the new scope view that we have. So down here in the mix and lim settings, you could either shift and go right, or just tap edit without editing the value, and it'll take you to this screen. What this screen is showing you is just kind of like the meter volume graphed over time, so you can see what it's doing. The peak of this graph is 0 dB, and then the lower end of this graph is whatever this zoom level is, which is currently, it's only showing up to -30. And then when we have the limiter actually engaged, let me go back to that nice peaky part. Is it right here? Right here. Sorry, Laamaa, for butchering your song here, but I want to show this. So now you can see the limiter values that are being drawn across the top there. And then we also have the limiter attack time and release time. Basically, a limiter is a compressor with infinite gain, or infinite ratio. So this is basically, if you're familiar with compressors, this is the attack time and the release time of the compression. So right now you can see it's 5 and 10, and these are basically the defaults that used to be in old versions of that mate, which is around 2 milliseconds for an attack time and around 60 milliseconds for a release time. The new defaults are kind of 0-0 here, which is basically almost no attack. It says 0, but it's like 0.001 or something. And then the release is auto, so it automatically changes the release time based on how much compression is being applied. Another good song might be, I'm going to switch SD cards. Sorry, so I have the stock SD card because I put all of our user bundles that we'll be playing in a minute on that card, but I'm going to load up my personal card because I wanted to show, let's see, the Dirty Wave Synth Drums sample pack, or not, preset pack has actually 2 demo songs in it. I don't know if anybody's noticed that or not, but I'm going to load up the second one. It just has like clean drums, which is better to show the limiter, I think. You can see how you can actually see the envelope being drawn on the screen now that it's drawn out over time there. I think I'm clipping my output a little bit. But yeah, the release time goes from auto, basically automatic, to it starts at 3.9 milliseconds and it goes up to 1 second basically of release time. And then the attack time is essentially 0 to 100 milliseconds. So the other thing I like is the zoom level here. Basically, if you, let's see if I can do this. So the activity on this meter on the main mixer page, it's basically showing around -60 dB to 0 on the meter. You see the volume is fading there, but if I go into the here, you don't even see it because currently it's zoomed to -30 decibels. So if I change that to, like, say something ridiculous like -2, it's only going to show us the very top of the peaks of the sound that's coming out of the main mix. Which I like doing this because it allows me to basically control how much I'm clipping the song by really zooming in on the, you know, the loudest part of the graph. I don't know how to explain this better, but I think you get what I'm saying. So right now you're only looking at the peaks. So if I play with the mix volume here, I could really dial it in. If I want to chop off the peaks at 0 dB, I can, without going ham on the rest of the signal. And I can zoom back out. Yeah. So I think that's it for all the version 5 stuff. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. We'll try to answer them. Maybe Mikey's already read some questions and he's going to tell them to me.
I have. Someone asks, for old bundles, will we need to correct the limiter settings, or will they be defaulted to the older default parameters?
Yeah, sorry about that. It defaults to the old defaults. So that way it should sound identical to the old song in the old version. Yeah, initially that feature started because I decided that the limiter settings weren't quite as perfect as I'd like them to be with some of the peaks. And then I did an alternate beta like test just for people to try out. And then during that testing, I realized like I just need to expose those parameters so that way we could have old songs still sound like the old songs and new sounds sound like whatever you guys want. So it just made sense to kind of open it up. But then it was only 2 parameters, like attack and release, you know? So I was like, that I can't fit it in the mixer page, and for a two parameter thing on its own screen doesn't really make any sense. So then I'm like, oh, but it would be sweet if we had a scope. So it's kind of feature creeped that into existence. Is there any other questions?
Can the attack and release settings be modulated?
No. No, they can't currently. I don't know if I should, because basically the main hurdle with making anything to allowing any sort of automation, generally speaking, is you want to be able to interpolate the values so that way they sound smooth when there's rapid changes and they don't behave erratically. And that takes, some computational power and possibly some memory. So it's probably better that that's not modulatable. But I'm also not sure what the use case is of being able to modulate it. I don't know. I mean, I get it, but we got to have some limits somewhere, guys. Any thoughts to adding more bands on the EQ? Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. The more bands you have, the more CPU intensities, obviously, because each band is a filter. And the fact that we have it here in the first place is awesome. Come on, Graz. 3 is more than enough. I'm kidding. Is there still a possibility to cram more instruments and effects into the device? Maybe. I don't have anything terribly exciting planned, but there's just more bells and whistles I want to do, but nothing like, hey, look at that, there's 20 new synthesizers and now it has VST support. That's not going to happen. Somebody asked for me to explain the limb value. The limb value is basically the amount to, basically the gained amount into the limiter. I don't know how else to explain that, but limiter gain? Does it reduce the limit threshold after 80? I don't know what that means. Yeah, I just look at this like basically the amount you want to limit. It's essentially the negative dB value of where you want to draw that line to start limiting at. All right, so unless there's something else we should talk about.
What feature in version 5 have you been enjoying the most?
Mine?
Yeah.
What's your feature where I could start working on music without having to write code.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But honestly, the quick render, the selection to render is just amazing. I was working on some music and I thought it was annoying to keep going into the sampler to record a small portion of the audio that's coming in from an external synthesizer. And I'm like, if only quick render supported this, then the workflow would be like 10x, and just being able to drop in new samples from external gear would be nothing. So I think that's the biggest thing here. That and
Yeah,
32-bit support are huge.
Yeah, as someone who regularly uses a mono synth paired with the M8, having the external only added is huge, absolutely huge for workflow stuff.
Any plans to add different waveforms to the hypersynth? You know, originally I was planning on trying to get those wavetables into hypersynth. That was the primary focus I wanted to do, and the only reason why I started to do it to the FM synth was because code-wise, the FM synth for me is an easier platform to work with to be able to do testing on oscillators. And so I was just like, well, and I could also test CPU loads through FM synth to see if it was possible in hypersynth. But the problem is hypersynth is written in a way that makes it almost not legible to understand because it takes advantage of certain processes of the processor that's in here. So the code's just not really easily readable and easily scalable because hypersynth, if you don't know, is 13 oscillators. So it's quite a bit more massive than FM synth in terms of the requirements involved in just playing back an oscillator. I wasn't able to really get it to work, essentially with the CPU limitations that we have, especially because without anti-aliasing, without any kind of like polyblep or, multiple samples of the oscillators at different, so that way it sounds good at higher notes. Without any of that, like stacking 12 of them together would just sound terrible because you're just stacking the aliasing. So I thought like without being able to solve it, it just wasn't going to happen. So yeah, no, there's no plans on changing hypersynth. The reason why it's SAW is because SAW is computationally very cheap to do. It's cheaper than a square wave in terms of anti-aliasing algorithms. So yeah, I think that's it for questions, unless there's one that's not Crazy Town. What do you think, Mikey? Should we move on to bundles or?
I think we're good. I think we're ready to move on.
Real quick. I have a show coming up next week, along with several other M8 users, in Boston for, I believe it's called Boston Bitdown, ? Sorry, I've been out of the loop a little bit because I've just been so focused on firmware. But yeah, I'm going to be out in Boston. I think Noel Sleep's playing. A bunch of other people are playing. So if you want to go check that out, that'd be awesome. We'll be in town for a couple days, and then we're headed to New York City just to hang out. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to bundles. Oh, man. I forgot I switched SD cards. All right, so for the bundles, we had 52 submissions. If I played through all of them, it would take us, 3 hours, maybe 4. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to play half of the bundles this time around, and then the other half, March 15th, we'll do another meetup. We'll play the rest of the bundles and maybe go over some techniques or features or questions people might have, etc. It might be fun to do a meetup where we're not discussing a whole new version. But yeah, so I asked a poll of how we want to basically break up all of these bundles. And after thinking about it for a while, I realized probably the best solution would be to just play half of all the submitted bundles and do them. And how we choose which ones of the half that we're playing will just be random. And what I ended up doing, because I'm a nerd, is I have this song that I created called Randomize. And basically what it is a MIDI loopback using the internal mode on M8, and it will move the cursor when you preview it in the song screen. So if I go to these are the 2 bundle folders we have here. These are all the first time submissions for bundles. At the bottom of this list, there's this one song called Randomize, and if I preview it, it'll just start moving the cursor randomly to select a song and then stop it and select that song. So I think that's how we're going to go through these bundles, just because I think it's the fairest way to do it, and I thought it'd be hilarious. So, I might have been over-engineering it, but at the same time, it's a lot quicker than me having to listen to every submitted bundle and organize them and do all that. So this way, we're just going to do it live. And we're gonna start with the first-time submissions. And it looks like we're going to play 16 of them. And then we'll go through some people's songs that have previously been featured on a meetup. All right, should we do it? Should we spin the wheel?
Let's go.
This is so ridiculous. All right. There we go. Dustsucker, Stackin Cheese. I don't know if that's is that the artist name? Yeah, Dustsucker, Stackin Cheese. Awesome. That's our first song. Wait, was there 2? No. All right. Thank you so much for submitting. That was an amazing opener for this random project selector. Yeah. Thank you so much. That again was Dustsucker with Stackin Cheese. All right, let's spin the wheel again. All right, there we go. Johnathan. My M8's pretty far away, so Johnathan, Arceo. First. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher everybody's name. You all know this already though, so it's okay. Awesome. That again was Arceo with First. I was just told that is their first song made on the M8, which is pretty stellar. Great job. Spinning the wheel. What if it never stops? That's what I'm so worried about. This next song is Crucial Taunt with Dream So Sweet. Was awesome. That again was Crucial Taunt with Dreams So Sweet. And random. See, it's... Oh. I thought it wasn't going to stop that time. All right. This is Jadyrion with Tribe Rite. By the way, feel free to @ me and with the correct pronunciation if I totally butcher it. Awesome. Thank you so much for submitting your bundle. That again was Jadyrion with Tribe Rite, sorry. Spinning the wheel. EVANBLU, a new high. I guess that was it. Thank you so much for submitting your bundle. Looks like a stem style thing going on. That again was EVANBLU with a new high. Spinning the wheel. By the way, if it lands on something we've already played, then I'll just play it again. No, I'm kidding. Oh, is it no longer working? RIP. Oh, no. All right, there we go. You guys can hear my brain struggling on this one, can't you? Kahdexankax. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Shooting Star. Awesome. That was super great. That again was Shooting Star by kahdexankax something. I'm sorry. Maybe we should add a field to the bundles of like how Tim's dumb brain can pronounce your name. You should add that to the field list, Mikey. All right, I'm going to go ahead and spin the wheel. North on Highway 1 with 1. I guess part of the problem, too, is there's no spaces, so... Oh, there's a note with this one. Wanted to challenge myself with this one and limit myself to synthesis and a single track. Awesome. Awesome. That was a great job. Thank you so much for submitting your bundle. That again was North on Highway 1 with 1, or 1 track. Is it ever going to stop? Hey. Oh, we played that one already. We're playing it again. All right, this is Jan Lurig with Lemon Bullard. Sorry. Oh my god, I can't read, I swear. Lemon Bolero. There we go. Lemon Bolero. Can't everybody just use the name generator? Thank you so much for submitting your bundle. That again was Jan Lurig with Lemon Bolero. Will it stop? All right. We already did that one. You know, this process isn't perfect. This next one's Shotbeat with Y. Awesome. Thanks again for sharing. That again was Shotbeat with Y. Is this truly random? Crazy Crayon with Groovy Spy. Awesome. That again was Crazy Crayon with Groovy Spy. Fix my levels real quick. All right. Next one is Honey Wizard with Sass. awesome. Thanks again for sharing. That again was Hunting Wizard with Sass. Spinning the wheel. All right. Defense Mechanism with Icebreaker. That was great. Thank you, Defense Mechanism. That song was called Icebreaker. All right. We have 4 more tracks of the first-time submitters. And random. Nope. We're playing it again. Mononomicon with Wavefront. Do I start here? Awesome. That sounded great. That again was Mononomicon with Wavefront. Is that anyone? Eris. Sorry, I have to check a list now. Yeah, it's a new one. Eris Fairbanks with URBANWATERS. Wow, that was awesome. That again was Eris Fairbanks with URBANWATERS. We got 2 more left of the first time submissions. All right. The Way Up with March. Awesome. That was great. That again was The Way Up with March. Sorry, give me a second. I need to mark. Ugh. I'm losing my mind a little bit, having to keep track of everything. Okay, we have one more for this list of bundles. I'm going to go ahead and randomize it. We did that one. All right. Pretty sure we haven't played this one. Yeah. This next one is Patter Juggler with Metal Prey 2, or Metal Prey. Awesome. Thank you again for submitting that song. That again was Patter Juggler with Metal Prey 2. And that's it for the new bundles. New, what do we call that? First time submissions. I'm going to go ahead and force the wheel on this and play one more song out of here just because it's caught my eye and I wanted to hear it. This next one is by Kubbi, somebody named Kubbi. Kubbi and Laamaa with Trainchamp. Fantastic. I knew there was a reason why I cheated. That again was Kubbi and Laamaa with Trainchamp. All right. We're going to the returning people who have submitted bundles in the past. We're going to do the same thing with the random shuffle. There'll only be 9 tracks here. Just cut the whole list of submissions in half. Maybe it'll never stop this time. No, it's just going on forever. All right. That one. New Life with Spirit Drive. Is it New Life Plus? All right. Yeah, New Life Plus with Spirit Drive. That was amazing. That again was New Life Plus with Spirit Drive. I'm sorry, I love this random selection. This next one is by Abraide with Dorian Sand. Doria Sand? awesome. That again was Abraide with Dorian Sand. Whatever. It's my fault. I think that was a name generator song. Oh, Mikey's taking off. See you later, Mikey. Thank you so much for your help. All right. Spinning the wheel. Needs a sound effect. Oh my God, I could have. Hey, Mikey, we're playing your song. This next one's by
right.
Mikey 303. With
Your
Luna.
randomizer is definitely not rigged.
It's not rigged. But I just realized I could have totally put in a sound effect in there, you know? So it sounded like a spinning wheel. That would have been great. Anyway. All right. I messed that one up. I'm sorry about that. I had MIDI output enabled on M8, and there was a lead that came in there that was really hot, and that's because both Mikey had some MIDI out on there, and I had MIDI in enabled. So that again was Mikey 303 with Luna. I apologize. It sounded pretty good once I turned it down a little bit. I think it added.
Yeah,
I think it
not
was a
bad.
remix. Sorry about that. I need to remember to do that for these bundles. All right, spinning the wheel again. This one, the name's cut off. Give me a second. There we go. Bruce Menace with Dealer at a Jupiter Station. That ending was great. That again was Bruce Menace with Dealer at Jupiter Station. They also mentioned that that was synths only, no samples. So thank you again for submitting your bundle. Will it ever stop? Oh. This is Xavier M. Lena with M. Lena, I guess. Let me see. Yeah, this is Xavier with M. Linha in line. was really pretty. That again was Xavier with M. Linha. Spin it. All right. DJ Disc Machine. With Lafayette. Trying to parse it. Lafayette. Like Lafayette, right? Awesome. That again was DJ Disc Machine with Lafayette. I'm getting better at pronouncing these once I have a little research done. Sorry, you have the developer like trying to pronounce words, and you know what? My English is terrible enough as it is, so. I'm wondering one of these times if it's never going to stop. This might be it. Nope. Oops. Bryface. Bryface with Plucks Only. I believe this song is Plucks Only. All right, how'd you do the horn with a plucked instrument? So good. That again was Brieface with, I believe it's Oops, Plucked Only. Spinning the wheel. Antissa. Patient. Mr. Dr. Katz and s.d.s with Gates of Immortality.
Cannot kill an Ingan Mahmood. If I hang, there are others. Professor Morland, that robber of the dead. He believes that the eternal light will open for him the gates of paradise. And very soon he will know whether or not he was right. What do you mean? Professor Morland is dying. Bury me in dust beneath the clothes I told you. You will place the figure of Anubis at the west of the inner chamber. And on the night of the full moon, at the first star, I will make my offering. What on earth's the matter with you? Look as if you've seen a ghost. I have. Have done well in his sight. He will open to me the gates of immortality.
Awesome. That again was Murder Cat featuring s.d.s. I did not say what y'all think I said. I am not crying right now in both shame. Oh, God. I'm so sorry. All right. Random time. Oh, right. We played that one already. Mulberry with Wanderer. I don't think we played that one, did we? Nope. That was awesome. Thank you so much for submitting that song. Oh. Let's see. I think we have time for one more. That again was Mulberry with Wanderer. No, we're not playing Mr. Dr. Cat again. Gentle Bites with One Finger. Awesome. What was the name of that song? One Finger. That again was Gentle Bites with One Finger. That concludes this meetup, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be coming back again in 2 weeks for another one. Maybe we'll discuss techniques, etc., instead of just these going through change logs of features. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys dealing with my real-time voice typos. And, yeah. If you happen to be in the Boston area, a few of us will be playing a show next week. So, a few of us. I think there's information on the Hangouts and shows on the Discord channel. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Really appreciate it, and hope you enjoy the new firmware. Yeah. See you later.